Okay. From the top. Thank you.
All right, we're going to talk about using feedback loops for driving business growth. Research shows that companies using feedback loops are 30% more likely to grow revenue and market share, and 50% more likely to improve their reputation as an industry leader. The Harvard Business Review has been doing this research year after year. And in this slide, there's 3 different ones from the last 3 years that show consistently how feedback loops are effective at driving business results. So today, what I want to talk to you about is kind of beyond the survey traditional methods, tell you 4 stories about loops that I've had in action and the hidden gold that I've gotten out of them. First, let's kind of set a baseline. Traditional feedback. You're probably thinking customer surveys, right? Customer satisfaction scores, net promoter scores, those types of filtered survey information that you're going to get from customers. Then you might have QBRs done by your sales team or your customer success team, talking to customers. You need a process to then address that feedback. Or maybe you have customer advisory boards. This is often found in product teams, in marketing teams. This is what I'm thinking of as traditional. These are good value. Today, what I want to do is challenge us to think beyond surveys. What are other sources of feedback that you could get that maybe is unfiltered and more rich? A whole bunch of it is sitting inside your customer service teams. Those people are interacting with customers on a regular basis. A lot of them are very friendly and chat up your customers who probably aren't calling in because they're like, you have the best product ever. They're usually calling because there's a problem. So they're turning that around and they're being personable. So they're getting a lot of good information. Then you have a whole lot of people in your company, billing, sales, marketing, delivery, customer service, customer success. All of those people are talking to customers. What if you had an internal advisory team instead of a customer advisory board? That's some more opportunity for unfiltered feedback. And one of my favorites, I call it hallway conversations. When we all used to work in offices, you were more likely to have a hallway conversation, going to get coffee, getting lunch. Now it may be, if you're remote, chatting before a meeting starts, chatting after a meeting starts, setting up an intentional conversation with someone. All of these are things that you can use for feedback loops. So that we're all on the same page. Basic feedback loop. You collect feedback, then you're going to analyze it. You're looking at that input for insights, patterns, opportunities. You're going to be creative and come up with ideas for how do you address what you found when you did the analysis. And then you need to execute on those ideas, put them into action. And what I think is the most important part of a feedback loop is closing the loop and communicating back to the source of the feedback what you did because of their input. Why? And if we were having more time, I'd have everyone put it all in the chat. But why would you want to close the loop? The reason is you want to get more feedback. You want to show that there was value to the person that provided it to you so that they will continue to give you good information. Now, let me jump into some stories. First story I want to tell you about is using that customer service team as the source and then a loop that takes it into feedback. As I tell this story, the goal that we're going to get out of this is safeguarding our brand reputation or improving the brand reputation, depending on your perspective. We have a customer who calls into our customer service team. I run a software company. There's a problem. Software's not working as it's supposed to. Our customer service agent is able to figure out it should be working. This is a bug. In our system, we create a JIRA ticket, so a ticket for our product and our technology team to look at an issue. It has all the steps that you need to take to replicate the problem. It tells you what should be happening and then what is happening. So this is, one call, then there's another call, then there's another call. And our customer service team spots a pattern. Hey, a lot of these customers are calling in, but this is a really important part of our product. We have over 2,000 customers who use this function on a regular basis. We need to escalate this issue and get this feedback over to our product and technology team. So we used a chat function. It was Slack at the time. Slacked over to our product team and said, hey, look, we put this JIRA ticket in, but we think this is a really big deal and it's going to cause a lot of problems. Would you have a look? So our product team looks at it, agrees. And so they find the solution for it. Okay, we know what the problem is. We can fix it. Let's get a hot fix out. So a hot fix means we're going to put it into production right away. And because we're software as a service, putting it into production right away means everybody gets it instantly. By the time they had done this fix, 40 customers had called in. So 40 customers are thinking, oh, what's going on with Neargo's product? This isn't very good. But then they get a phone call or they get an email saying, thank you so much for your feedback. We have found the problem and fixed it. You can now go ahead and use it. So with less than 2% of our customers having called in about this problem, we were able to get it resolved because this feedback loop got the information of the pattern that was spotted over to the team that could do something about it. Alan talked a little earlier about his emerging incident detection. If you don't have this kind of a loop going on in your business, Alan's product would be a great one to put in this one. There's a shameless plug for you, Alan. But I think it's really great. That's a way to automate, what we were doing here. All right, story number 2. Let's stick with our customer service team because there's so much gold in that one. This time I want to have them talk to customer success and to sales. The gold in this loop, bet you can guess it, right? We're going to boost sales. So how do we increase our revenue? In this case, a customer's calling in and they don't understand how to use basic functionality of our tool. And our customer service agents, again, they're extremely personable. They're saying, oh, well, okay, so you're not sure how to do this. How long have you, had access to this product? And they're like, I just got here yesterday because Maria left and she just left. I have no notes. I have no documents. I don't know what I'm doing with this. So can you relate? Customer service agent helps the person out, gets them through and says, this is a new admin. There's a lot that they're going to have to learn. As customer service, I'm taking a lot of calls in, so I don't have the time to be able to outreach and talk them through it. They weren't part of the implementation. Let me just send a chat over to my friends in the customer success team and let them know, hey, Amy just joined company ABC. You need to reach out to her. Customer success, of course, is like, well, yeah, we have so many resources. We've got self-paced learning courses that I can enroll her in. We have regular webinars. There are actually other admins in her local area that she could go and meet and introduce them to her. So imagine now how this admin feels. All of a sudden gets a call with all of these resources. Well, they're extremely happy. And they're like, this is how I want to be treated in a B2B world. My vendor sees that I have a problem and goes the extra mile to make sure that I have the resources that I need. If you guys ever need a reference, let me know. So now we have to close the loop. The customer success calls, customer services. This was great. They shouldn't be calling in. I gave them those resources. Hey, sales, guess what? This person would be a reference. Well, it turns out that sales is trying to sell to another customer that has high turnover and has issues just like this one. So they were able to have that customer be a reference and they closed the deal. So we won more business because we helped the customer out with this feedback loop. All right, ready? This is lightning, so I'm going fast. Third story, the internal advisory loop. This is where we're taking people who interface with the customer. If you think about the customer journey, right? It's from where do they first discover you exist as a company all the way through buying and using, maybe buying more, renewing, depending on what you're doing, the full customer life cycle. So all of the people who fit in pieces of those journey experience part of the customer journey with the customer. So they can bring their insights and share what's happening in the piece of the customer journey that I see, so that together, everyone can ideate on what to do. Well, that last story I told you about the new admin, that came into our internal advisory loop. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? How do we scale new admins coming in so that they can get the resources that they need? Well, the ideas they came up with, well, what if we did a product change so that when a new admin is entered into the product, it notifies our customer success tool so that they could do an outreach? And then what if that tool notified our knowledge teams tool that actually does all our e-learning and it could enroll them in the education and do push notifications when they haven't done the classes? So now the goal that we've got out of here is we are enriching our customer journey because we're looking at the full customer experience. So we've got insights there. It's cross-team initiatives because product and customer success need to work together, and customer success and knowledge need to work together. And as everyone has to do more with less, you have to set priorities. And here, because we're looking at the customer experience journey together, it's collaboration in what the priorities are. Fourth story, hallway conversations. This story that I want to tell here happened when I worked and ran a professional services technology consulting company. And the conversation, Bill was one of our consultants. He was on site and he walks by two of our customers, Mike and Rhonda, and they have Post-it notes all over the wall, which is why I use this picture. They have Post-it notes all over. He's like, are you guys redecorating? What's going on? It's all yellow here. And they are trying to solve a problem with a really old piece of software. They don't know how to do it. It's a really old piece of software. And, you know, they're drawing all different options. They say, do you know anyone? Bill's like, I don't know anyone who knows this old software. But he comes back to the office and he says, Mike and Rhonda, they had this big problem. He's talking about it. And one of our folks walks by and says, well, wait, Jan works for us and he's an expert in that software. Okay, so how could we help the customer? Because he's assigned somewhere else. Well, the idea was, why don't we buy our customer lunch and have Jan go for lunch with them, and they could just talk about this tool and get the ideas. And that way we're showing them that we heard you have a problem, we can solve it, no cost. Well, not only did it improve our reputation as solving our customers' problems, we've got a new opportunity here. They did end up buying services from us. And the idea was, well, wait a minute, we have Jan and he's got this knowledge. What if we added training to our suite of services that we offer to customers? And so we got a new revenue stream. So we boosted sales, we improved our reputation as an industry leader, and we enriched our customer experience. So all of this from, I walked by and saw a whole bunch of Post-it notes on the wall. So what we've been doing in this lightning talk is thinking about beyond surveys and QBRs and customer advisory boards. You can have gold inside your customer service team, inside other teams when you bring them together, and simply by being alert to side conversations. And the gold that you can get of it, you can boost your sales, you can enrich your customer journey, and you can safeguard or improve your industry reputation. So as Paul was saying when we started, let's talk about it. Where can you find loops with this hidden gold within your own organization?
Drop the mic moment. Wow, Tracey. Everyone, let's give some love to Tracey. Great presentation.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. You've got my mind spinning for sure. And for me, you know, one of my big takeaways from this conversation is oftentimes we think about siloed feedback loops. And what you really brought in my mind was this idea of connecting or bridging to another silo. So how do you actually bring something else in to a loop and close that loop? So really great examples. You had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. So thank you, Tracey. Folks, if you have questions for Tracey, please post those in the chat. If anything kind of stands out to you, or if you want to ask her anything, we've got a little over a minute to do that while we're getting you ready for your breakout groups. Tracey, while people are putting their questions in the chat, I did have a question for you. How do you help team members? I mean, when you went through all of your loop examples, I could see, I don't know, 90% of us get 90% of a loop done. It's that last 10%, it seems to be a challenge. How do you create that as part of a culture, or how do you tackle that, get people to finish or close the loop?
You know, it's interesting, Paul. One of the things that I like to do is ask someone if they've ever given feedback, and then say, well, do you know what happens to your feedback? And they're like, nah, it goes into a black hole. And I said, so do you feel like giving feedback again? People are like, well, no. I said, okay, so when you get feedback, how do you think the other person is feeling? And they're like, oh, like a light bulb goes on, that they realize, well, I would be more than happy to give more feedback if I knew something was happening with it. But when it goes into a black hole, not only do you not give more detailed feedback, you stop giving feedback. And so I try to put them in, when you've given, you get a survey. It's a 1 to 5. I just got a survey in this game that I played on here. They're like, oh, would you take a survey? And I'm like, yes, because I got stuff I need to tell you. I got to pick 2 numbers and no comments. I'm like, well, how, you're not getting good information from me. So.
Great points. It looks like there's some questions around internal advisory boards. So Alan's asking, how do you formally organize those boards?
The way that we did it at EOGov is we actually started it, interestingly enough, I got it at the exec level saying, you know, we have customer advisory boards, but there's this gold. And I gave a similar example here. I said, what if we formalize this and we had like product ambassadors come to our product team? So it was a slowly get product ambassadors in from the operations team. We'll tell you what we're seeing. And that went really well. Great. Now let's add our sales people. Okay, now let's add our finance people. And so we showed the value with each group that we added in order to bring the full team together. And now the full team operates like every quarter they're meeting and they're bringing in their ideas. But we had to start small. Like you don't boil the ocean. We just, had a little tiny raindrop and then we just kept adding water to it.
Brilliant, brilliant. Was there anything that you would do differently to set up the internal advisory board?
If I could have them all meet in person from a financial perspective of flying everybody together, I would do that differently because the conversations are richer. When we were in office and we did this, it was faster. Everybody understood what was going on, easier. But when we're all in these little like Hollywood Squares boxes, it's not as rich. So I would do that differently if I could, but knowing that, expenses are small. Paul's whiteboard thing that he's going to do for us later, that's very cool. I would use that. So some kind of a tool and a whiteboard where people could be putting their ideas down really quickly and then you organize them later. So I would do that in a remote environment more.
Good idea. Peyton's also got a good idea. If everyone's going to a trade show, just hold a separate meeting there. Then you're getting double production out of it. You're getting exposure and the team can meet. So, okay, great. We are running out of time.
Can I answer Greg's
Yes.
question though, quickly, that I just saw? How do you have them not fizzle out? We do rotation because everybody kind of wants to be on the advisory team. So we rotate within each team and you get to be at the advisory team kind of like 2 times in a row and then somebody else goes. And so that way we keep people from fizzling out.
Awesome. I know we've got one more question. Perhaps we can answer Jason's question really quick as well. How do you incentivize XFN partners to be as engaged in customer feedback when it's not a direct line to their org success?
I do it based on the fact that we're very purpose driven in our company. So I tie it to our company values and mission. And so each person can see how they're contributing overall to the company mission, even though it may not be directly to their KPI, because it's part of the full company mission. People feel part of what we're trying to achieve overall by doing the feedback. It has worked for us.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, again, Tracey, thank you so much. That was wonderful. I'm going to stop the